Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I am back to work on part 2 where we'll be making a slow stitch vessel using a piece of fabric which we collaged, which we then cut some shapes out of. I did little bunnies and I made this beautiful little slow stitch bunny bunting. I just absolutely adore it. It's got my Nana's rick-rack and yeah, these sweet little bunnies on it, and these beautiful vintage buttons, mother of pearl buttons. So at the moment that's hanging up next to my craft desk because I love looking at it. I also finished making my little brooch, but this is going to be a vessel, a slow stitch fabric vessel, and it's using every part of the scraps, which makes me very happy. I love using scraps and I love using every part of them and honouring them, and how lovely to have something that kind of captures part of a project but captures it in a totally different form. So this is all going to be emergent. I'm working it out as I go, but I'll talk you through the process. So these are the bits where we'd cut the shapes out. One of my lovely subscribers, Leslie, she mentioned that you can use your little sort of ripper tool to actually, so you don't have to put this little like cut in that I put here into the fabric when you take out your shapes. You can sort of insert that. I think you could also do it with your scissors carefully. I just did that because that was a bit easier, but I'll definitely try the other method when I come to do my hearts. So what I've got here is a piece of upholstery fabric. It's actually a reused one because I had to go along and remove a little row of threads that were there. In fact, there's a bit of black left still, so it was obviously attached to a piece of furniture at some point. And I thought it's a lovely colour. Originally I was even thinking of just leaving this showing through the little bunny cutouts, but I think I'm going to add some colourful pops in because I kind of love that more muted and the neutrals than with the colourful pop, and I thought that would be fun. At first I was thinking this was something I would gift to my nephew who's visiting at Easter, but I think it might be a gift for the whole family, and I thought it would be good to do two bunnies representing my niece and my sister-in-law, two bunnies representing the boys, Bailey and Lachlan, and then because I'll need and then another bunny for my brother, he's a fly-in fly-out worker, so I thought I might use this little bunny brooch and have it, if I'd put a little handle on the vessel, that might represent my brother. So that's my idea there. And so then it's a gift that I can send back to the rest of the family when Bailey goes home from his holiday with us. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to put some backing fabrics behind the bunnies so that you get a nice colour. You can't quite see that one. There you go. Nice colour showing through. Just thinking what order I want to do them in. Yeah, I think I want to do that order. Green, yellow, another bluey, and a pinky colour. Yeah, I think that's quite sweet. And just then thinking if you are doing this, thinking that that one will then join to that one when it actually forms a vessel, because ultimately, let me see if I can do this, it's going to be forming a round vessel like that, which we will get to. And so what I have also done is I'm planning to use this single piece of upholstery fabric base that I can fold over. I might just remove the fabrics for a moment just so that I can more easily show you what I'm about to show you. That I can fold over at the top because I've got this raw edge and I'm happy with raw edges, but I just don't think it could kind of get caught a bit and might not be as robust. So I'm thinking I can then, with this fabric, which is doubled over, so that will be the inside in there, I can fold this top bit over and just put it so it's just over the raw edge of my little bunny fabric. And it will also help where it is a bit crooked, like it was just a scrap of fabric that I was collaging on. I didn't know what I was doing at the time when I was collaging it. So yeah, that will just give it a bit of robustness. And then I'll do a similar thing at the bottom. I'll fold this over and fold it over, and I think it will also help to give the vessel or container a bit more structure as well. But I won't do that step until the end because I want to be able to do all my stitching on the front piece without it showing through to the back. So that's the plan. So what I might do, I think if I put a sort of a permo crease in sort of across the top with my fingers, not a permanent crease really at all, that will kind of tell me where the area I'm working in. And what I might then do as well is I'll leave a little bit of room at both ends, which you probably can't see. It's the strangest day today, sorry, I'm just going to jump in. It's meant to be 41 degrees and it's now started raining. It is, and there's been raindrops and little rain showers. I've got the washing out because it was meant to be a really good drying day, but who knows. So what I'm going to start by doing, and again, let's bring it over so you can see, is just marking out broadly where my bunnies are. And we're going to be putting fabric here anyway, so don't worry. This is just so that when I put my fabric down, I know the broad area where my bunny is. So I'm just broadly sketching the bunny shape onto the fabric, and then I'll do that next step with you. I don't know if I'll be able to do the whole thing on camera, but it might be one of those things where I go away and do some stitching and then come back. I usually try and do my videos all in one go, but sometimes you can't fit everything in an hour. So that's where my bunnies are going to go, and I'm happy that that's sitting pretty straight. And then I basically will just need fabric to about the size to cover the bunny plus a little bit extra. So that will be most of that, but I can save a little bit of the fabric can be saved. This one's out of like a charm square pack, so it's not a total scrap. The other ones are all just scraps of fabrics. And do I also need to think about the height? Does it matter? Probably doesn't matter actually if I'm folding over, if there's a little bit of the fabric sticking out, although I guess I don't need quite that much fabric, so I'll take a little bit off the top. Again, I'll be keeping all of these scraps and they will form another, this will be the the gift that keeps giving. I'll keep having more scraps to add into my stitching. I suppose I could have even done it just laying this over the thing and doing it that way, so I probably don't need all of that at the end. Oops, just flicked everything over with my scissors. Let's take about that much off at the end. And then that'll be pretty good, I think. Yep. So I can probably stick that one down. Again, just using my trusty Yoo-hoo, and it doesn't need to be a big stick because we are going to be adding stitching, but I'll just put enough on just to hold it nicely in place while we do our next steps. And I've got my little washcloth there in case I need it for putting on my hands. So let's just double check this, check that we're still happy. We've got enough room at the other end, yep, and that will still be able to do that nice little fold down as well. And in fact, I might, just so I remember that this is where I want my fold to be, and I'll just do one at the other end, which I won't be needing that bit of fabric, I don't think anyway, but just leaving it there so I've got my options open, because I haven't quite thought how I'll join the two ends together yet. And then the next one I was going to have was my yellow, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. Because they're still quite different, unless I have a pink. And then I could have my yellow and a blue. Yeah, that would work too. Actually, let's go pink. Changing my mind. So we'll use this one as a bit of a base piece to cut. It's almost exactly the right length. You can either tear or cut, up to you. I just noticed the funniest thing. This has little bunnies on it. I had not noticed that. Isn't that? Can you see those? That is sweet, sweet, sweet. I don't even know where. I think I got this scrap in a mixed scrap bag from the Sewing Lair, I think. Which is an online sort of op shop that's focusing on, haberdashery sewing goodies, basically. So yeah, I'll link to my previous video where we collaged the fabric and cut out the bunnies and made the bunny bunting, because that's kind of what this piece is then using as its scraps. So which one do I want? What next to that one? They're both contrasting enough. So I think I'll go yellow and then I'll go this one. I think. Now I might just get rid of these. Oops, don't want my pinking shears. They're both black handled scissors, so sometimes I get confused. Just taking the thready bits off. And again, I can just use this one as a bit of a test case. And save a bit of that to use in my future scraps. Even the selvages are nice sometimes. That one doesn't have anything on it, but still nice. So yeah, I've heard so many people, like my good friend Annie, saying they're in the sort of use it or lose it phase this year. I think that's why we're all loving our scrappy sort of projects. And also finishing projects. I'm probably not going as well as some people as that. I have been starting quite a few projects, so it's hard. I have ideas and I want to see how they work. Always having ideas is Christine. And then I get really excited about them and I just have to do them. Had my lovely friend Christy from Sew Bits. Christy, she did avocado dyeing, and it just so happened yesterday we had some guests over and I made some guacamole, and so I had a whole lot of avocado skins and avocado pips. So I have made some dye, and I've just done a test piece, and now I'm preparing some fabric with some I don't think it's an official mordant, because I think a mordant is meant to be a chemical bond that it creates, but basically a pre-treatment for cottons to help them absorb and keep the dyes bonded to them, because I think it forms a physical bond rather than a chemical bond. That's probably getting way into a science lesson that you're probably not here for. But yeah, having a play. But Christy did a fantastic video on her channel, so if you're interested in that, head over and check it out. I'm not filming any of the process. I might show you the results at some point. But yeah, definitely check her channel out. So I think that's going to be pretty cute. I'll just give you the slide along because I can't get quite up high enough. So I think then the next process will be we'll use some glue to put then this piece on top of the fabrics, and then we'll do the stitching. So again, we'll be stitching, so I don't need to go absolutely to town, but I just want enough that it's not going to be moving around while we're working. And so yeah, try and choose fabrics for your base that won't go sort of too unravelly. Like I've even used the side of the tablecloth that was actually like the sort of the bound side, and I think that does just help. Okay, and then we'll put these, make sure they're all fitting where we want them. Actually helps to have these little squares in the fabric as well, because I can kind of try and get it to sit somewhat straight, but that's okay. As I say, we'll be kind of rolling the edges over. So, and we don't try for perfection here. We're not trying to make it look like something a factory has produced or something that a digital printer has produced. We're trying to make it look like ourselves, because then it is a lovely gift. Nice to gift the nephews and niece and things that are handmade by me, because who knows in the future, maybe the handmade will just be such a rarity. Maybe it will be a treasure, just the way that we treasure those beautifully stitched vintage linens, and even those more sort of naively stitched, we still love looking at those too. So I'll just give it a good press down. Normally with the Yoo-Hoo glue I'd let it dry for a bit, but yeah, I think this is going to be fine. And it's so funny, the rain has stopped outside. It was there for the briefest of moments, and I can see the sun's about to come out. So I think the next step will be to work out how we want to stitch. So I'm thinking, I don't think I'll do a blanket stitch around them like I did with these ones, although maybe it will, but it's not going to get too much wear on the front, so I might even just do just a little sort of like whippy stitch over. Yeah, I think I'll do that, and it'll be a bit easier to do that than blanket stitch sort of through the layers. And then whether we'll do a cross canther or do some on the angle like I did with the other piece, using this to draw some lines. But let's start with what we know, which is to do a whippy style stitch. So I'm using my vintage crochet cotton again. Someone asked it, this one is a vintage one, and it doesn't have like the normal numbering on it, but I think it's equivalent of about a 12. But I replied to that person's comment, reply to every comment I receive. Sometimes it might take me a few days, but don't think that I haven't. I always read them as soon as I, generally when I wake up in the morning, I read who's been commenting, and at the end of the day, as I sort of prepare dinner or whatever, I read them, and if I can't reply to them right then and there, I always come back and reply, because I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with me, and so how I show my appreciation is to reply back to you. To me, it's just the polite, but also it's the community. That's where the community comes from, is when people interact. I know not everyone has the time to always do replies and stuff, but I can manage to fit it in with doing other things, and sometimes you're not stitching all the time. So at this point I'm not having my fabric folded over. I am just going to be working here, which will mean that all the sort of stitching, the underside, that will all just get hidden when we fold it over. Obviously you can, if you want to have visible stitching, you can fold it over first and then stitch into it. Up to you. There are no rules. All these projects are just an idea. You take them and play with them, experiment. I'd love to see them. I've got my little slow stitching friends Facebook group. I think it's a private group, so you have to request to join. That's just to keep the scammers and spammers out, is the idea of that, which we don't want. So here I'm just popping up through. And so I might do one of these with you, and then I might go off just to not make this video really boring for you, and then we'll come back and do the further stitching. I'm hoping this will only be a couple of hours for me, and edited down into a single hour for you. I think it'll actually come on quite quickly. It's just this sort of stitching. You just work your way around. I'll watch a few videos of my friends. Do need to do another little sort out of the craft room, because I've got a few goodies during the week. And I've been washing linens because it's good in this hot weather to wash all your vintage linens and give them that nice sun hot dry. Oops. But you can use whatever thread. You could use an embroidery floss for this. I just kind of like, with these natural colours around the rabbits, I think it's nice to have the neutrals as well. But again, a contrast stitch could look super too. Got my piece of that black thread. I like that this almost looks like little bits of hairs coming off the rabbits or hairs. Now, something I learned this, I think, from my friend Sally from Dotty B, who's on YouTube. Check her out too. She was, I think, in one of our stitch along chats one time when we were doing the vintage antique embroideries, and she mentioned that she'd heard a fact, and she was kind of fact checking it with us about, in Queensland, it's you can't have pet bunnies. Only a magician can have a bunny. And it is actually a true fact, and I didn't actually know that, because growing up here in Victoria we had pet bunnies. In fact, one, and I'm sure I've told this story before, so apologies, when I was little, our neighbour, who was a school teacher, popped around one evening and said, the school's had this this male rabbit as its pet for the term, but we need to find somewhere to rehome it. And our neighbour knew that my parents, we had so many different pets and animals growing up. We were basically the place, if anyone was going away or moving or something, we'd end up adopting their dog or their cat or in this case, the school rabbit. And it was actually funny because it was coming up to Easter, and so we had this rabbit, and it started pulling out its fur. And we're a bit worried about it because we thought, is it sick or something, and it's doing that. Anyway, we went down one morning, and this supposedly male rabbit had, I think it was 8 or 10 baby rabbits overnight. So that's why it had been pulling out its fur, to make a lovely little warm nest for the rabbits. And so we had these, they were very cute. And I'm sure Mum and Dad have got pictures of, the rows of these little, once they obviously go from their very pink squirmy phase to having fur, just rows of these little rabbits looking out from their little rabbit hutch. I've still got that visual very, very much in my mind. So that was funny. And so I don't know if my parents ever quite let Ian next door live it down about the male rabbit that had a litter of baby rabbits. I assume it's still called litter. I don't know the word for different animal babies. I assume it's a litter. Dogs have a litter of babies, puppies, not babies, I suppose. And so this morning, Travis and I went down to the river that I discovered, the beautiful spot that he now loves to go for a swim. And it's so good because where we park the car, it's actually only probably 20 steps to get to the river. So we were able to take him down for a quick dip and talk to another Labrador owner. They were like, what a beautiful boy Travis is. And I was like, yep, centre of our world. And I also went out to the shops to get some roast chicken so that we can just have easy cool dinners and lunch today, but also got some soy milk to use as the pre-treatment for my avocado dyeing, because I don't like the flavour of soy milk, but if it works well for dyeing, then that's a good thing. But yeah, do head over and check out Christy's video on avocado dyeing if that's something you're interested in. Another great way to use things that would otherwise be going in the bin. And I think the avocados themselves do have a natural mordant in them, which is what helps the dye sort of stick to the fibre. And the test piece I did, it's looking really good. I even did give it a quick rinse under water just to see if all the dye would come out after it had dried. Too many words, dyed and dried. And yeah, it only lost a little bit of its colour, so that was good. But it's all experimenting, which is fun. I love experimenting. And I love when my friends do things. It's kind of like, it feels quite approachable when you've seen someone else have a go with it. Sometimes those people sort of selling the courses of eco dyeing and things online, I'm just sort of, it makes it all sound very complicated and needing to buy chemicals and things to do it. So it's nice to have natural products. I suppose the others are natural, they come from nature, but things that are accessible in the grocery store, that's always good, and things that use your scraps even better. I must try onion skin dyeing actually, because we get so many onions in our veg box as well. Sometimes I can't get through all of them in time. I send them down to Alex's parents and my parents, but actually I'd need to take some to my parents. I don't think I have. I sent them with Alex. Just managed to unthread my needle. So yeah, I'll keep going all the way around. I'll probably, you've seen enough of me whipping, so I'll just go all the way around, and then I'll probably tie it off at that point and then continue on around each of my bunnies. But yeah, just to show you, it's giving a really nice, it's going to hold it really well. It won't catch on anything. I was wondering if I will stitch around. I suppose we can come back and consider that when we come back. And the other thing I should have mentioned when I was mentioning the fabrics, you could think about where you want them to position if you wanted this flower to be on the head, for example. But if you're using scraps, you might be a bit more limited in how you can rearrange them. But I'm just so happy that this one has little bunnies on it. That's so sweet. So I'll be back once I have done that stitching, and we'll come back and then work on whatever stitching we're going to do on the piece. Thanks everyone. Okay, so I have finished doing the stitching around all my little rabbits. So that's just the whipped stitch all around the outside of all of them, which just creates a really lovely feel to the piece. You can feel the indent where the fabric is, but then it's got that little stitchy detail. And then I've started the process of doing a running stitch all around the outside of the piece. And also I decided, rather than doing a cantha stitch, just to outline each of the pieces and basically stitch down around the edges of the pieces. So that's just with a running stitch, just slightly inset from the edges. And I think it just gives a really lovely patchworky, it sort of plays up that patchworky effect to it. So I've done that most of the way along, but I thought we could do together this section down here on this one, because I just really love how it then sort of still leaves the neutral fabrics and doesn't totally sort of cover them with stitches, but it just gives that sense of outlining of each of the pieces. So I've got a piece of thread already threaded up on the needle, and where was I up to? I was up to about here. So the next piece where I was going to do some stitching was just up here. So I've done the stitching along that piece, and then I'll just put some stitches here, even though the two pieces overlap. So I might just move you a smidgeroo to make sure that it's not too close and that I don't go off camera. And so then the next piece of the process will also be, and I forgot to mention this before, if you want to keep some fabric that you're using for the outside of the container, you might also want that same fabric for the base, or you could use felt or a bit of blanket or another piece of contrasting fabric. So when I get to somewhere where I've already got like the stitching along there, I'll generally tie it off and then move along to wherever the next place is, or you can run your needle and thread on the back, because really, as I say, all of this is going to be enclosed in the middle of when you fold your piece of fabric over. And I can hear the rain just starting to start up after our 40 degree or 41 degrees. I haven't yet seen what the weather got up to today. I've got a little crafting buddy. I tidied up my craft room today and put away a few boxes and things off the floor from around my desk. So Travis has got a lovely little spot to be sitting. So I've done this whole area over here. So I still need to stitch down this side. So I'll just start over. It's a bit of sort of hopping around as you cover different ground. Because I'm going through quite a few layers, I find it easier to use the stab stitch method. Which has sort of going up and down rather than trying to, when I was doing the running stitch, I was angling my needle so that I went up and down sort of in a single stitch. Here I might stitch across the bottom of this piece. Even though it's only a small piece, I can still do a little run of stitches. And again, I don't think it matters too much sort of width of it. When I do that sort of pushing in a single stitch up and down, they then generally end up sort of being bigger stitches. When I do the stab method, you can get them smaller, but I don't mind. I kind of want them to be noticeable, so because it is just adding that extra stitched detail. So I've had a lovely afternoon just stitching this while watching a TV show on ABC here in Australia. I think it's called The Time of Our Lives. Just sort of like a drama series about various families sort of intertwined by like brothers and sister-in-laws and all of that. But set in, well, it looks like it's set around St Kilda. Don't know if it's kind of in the actual show, whether it's a more fictional place that it is. So I'll just jump down here and do a row here again. So even though I've done a row on the smaller scrap, I'll still also do a row just down this piece, which does help if they're only narrowly overlapped. Then it will just sort of stop it falling apart. And because I've already done along the edge here, I'll just tie off here again and then go to the next spot. You could run your needle. Got a nice easy dinner tonight. I went and got a roast chicken. I think I mentioned that, didn't I, in the earlier bit of this video? It's hard when you kind of do segments of videos, you forget what you've talked about. But yeah, I think in the earlier segment we were just having a very odd rain shower just in the middle of the heat of the morning, and then we didn't get any more rain, but now I think this is the cool change. Hopefully it's the cool change coming through. I'll just go down here as well. And where I've got already the over stitches where my rabbits are, I obviously don't need to do stitches there because that's already beautifully held down and it has enough detail. But again, choose what stitching. You could do some really like intense stitching all the way over. It's a really flexible idea, so see where your desire takes you for your piece. That's what I love to see, just everyone sort of might take an idea and take a different inspiration on it, which I just really enjoy seeing. Adapting things and coming up with new approaches, new ideas, suggestions. It's super. I love it. So do leave me a comment if you're going to give this a go in some form, maybe not rabbits, maybe hearts for Valentine's Day or some other time, maybe chickens, hens, they'd be really cute. I might have to have a look at my cookie cutters because that's another great place to get shapes from as well, really sort of simple shapes. So I'll move over a bit so I don't go off camera. This is a piece of upholstery fabric, so it is particularly slightly tougher to go through, but not too bad. But yeah, if you do have trouble with like arthritis or anything, maybe just choose a bit of a like a felt or something you could use, which would have a bit of structure but probably be easier to push through than yeah, multiple layers of fabric and upholstery fabric. I'm just going to go around. And I think this stitching's nice because it starts to sort of, oops, sorry, I probably was going slightly off camera. It just, yeah, kind of delineates the pieces, but also kind of makes it all cohesive. It's a funny thing to say, it kind of, yeah, makes them individual, but then makes the whole piece hang together. So I'll come up here. Hopefully we don't get any lightning or thunder because Travis really doesn't like that. That might be why he's hanging particularly close to Mum. He might sense it's coming. But it might then have a dog jumping up on me because he always jumps up for a reassuring cuddle if there is lightning or thunder. He's just had his first dinner. He gets his dinner split into two, one at 5:30 and one at 6:30 or whenever we're about to kind of, yeah, prepare dinner. He had his healthy veggies and tuna tonight. Sometimes at the supermarket they say, oh, are you buying all this tuna or all these sardines for you? And I'm like, oh no, for the dog. Human grade, but only the best for Lord Travis. And Alex set up the little paddling pool for Travis in the backyard this afternoon because it was such a hot day. We could have taken him back down the river, but then we would have had to be in the hot car, and even with the aircon on, it takes the cars a while to kind of, yeah, cool down. And so it was nice that we all had a paddle actually in the paddling pool. Alex even put his bathers on and sat down in it, but I was just coming down from a bit of, yeah, stitching, so I just had a little wade, and then I'd washed all the quilts and a whole lot of vintage linens, which all smells so nice now from being out in the sun. It does such a good job. So I might just come over, this piece just sort of goes slightly down, so I'll just put another little bit of stitching in. I think we're almost done on our stitching around. Sorry, I do keep going off. I think I've put the camera at a slightly wrong angle. Go down here and then up the other piece. One of those showers where I think quite large raindrops, but not a lot of them. So they're almost sounding like sort of hail. I think I can hear a bit of rumbling of thunder, so that might put an end to filming for now if Travis needs too much reassurance. But at the moment he's just having a sneeze behind me, so that might be for the best. And if he can hear me chatting away, then he might just kind of ignore what's going on outside. You can probably hear the rain now. It is coming more. It's funny though, I can see a cloud illuminated up above me, so there must be a bit of sun still out there somewhere. So I think I've now done all the pieces down here, which hopefully you can see. I'll just pull this through and tie it off without unthreading it. It's actually even a nice upholstery fabric on the back of it as well. Single knot should be fine. I think that should hold. Leave a little tail, put that in my orts jar, which is overflowing again. Some people say they really have to save their orts up. I end up with so many. I suppose it's the amount of stitching I do. So I think the next step is to talk about the process for working out and drawing a shape for the bowl. So I had a look around earlier today, but I've now got to just sort of test it at the different bowls downstairs. Let me get one of my little quilt clips. And I think this one looked like it might be just about the right size to draw the circle for the base, which I thought I'd show you at this point. Yeah, it's probably going to be just slightly less that we need, but I think I'll probably draw it like that, and then sometimes it will sort of gather in a bit on the base. So yeah, just do that, have a look around. This is a really sweet design, I love it. What is it? It's the Fable, like I think Aesop's Fable, don't know. So I have got some extra fabric, so I will use my friction marker. Hopefully you can still hear me with the rain going. Travis has just put his little nosy nose up. So I've drawn around the outside of my circle. I had to stop filming there for a moment because poor Travis did get scared of all the the sound of the rain. So I'll cut around, but yeah, as I say, you could also use felt for your base, or a contrasting piece, or a piece of blanket. Lots of possibilities. I just thought, seeing I had some more of this fabric, I would give that a go. And I could actually use two, I have actually got some more fabric left. I could always use 2 pieces of this, or I could actually, although I don't mind that as the base, if I do want it a bit more solid, I may well put a piece of felt underneath it. I do have a lot of felt, so I could always put a piece of felt on the bottom, which might just give it a bit more structure. Yeah, we'll come back to the base. So I think the next step in the process is to now fold these bits of fabric and get it ready to stitch together. Now it's just working out where we want to fold it. I think that will work quite well actually. So I might just grab some of my clips. What I'm going to do here is just overlap this, just so it's probably coming up to where I've got that sort of little row of stitching, and keep it broadly sort of even as we go along. But again, doesn't have to be perfectly perfect. So it's almost making a little rolled binding, but it's going to be nice because again, it almost makes this look like a frieze. You know, you get those sort of those decorative features along buildings. I think it's almost kind of getting that feeling to me. I just make those fold in a bit more. I've kind of got the little pattern to be able to tell whether I'm staying straightish or not. Not that, as I say, it's not about perfection. So I'm now just down to this end, so I've got some of these little bulldoggy clips, which I sometimes use if my quilt clips are in short supply. Got one over on my rick rack as well. So yeah, we'll do that there. And so for the top, about coming over just to there. So maybe just coming over to about there. So that's what that's going to look like. On the inside, it's just going to be the fabric, and then it will come round into a circle. And so yeah, to do the stitching, let's just grab our thread and needle again. So just still using the same crochet thread. I think that's probably the go. Sorry, I'm off camera as I stitch, aren't I? Just bring you around a bit more this way, and then hopefully I'll stop going off camera so much. And yeah, I won't make you watch this whole process. I thought I'll just get a bit done to show you the show you the approach, and then, and yeah, really with the idea of just coming over so that we don't have raw edges sticking out, and even if it's not totally enclosing the raw edges, it will just kind of be sitting over it. Just do a bit more. We'll just go up to where the clip is, and then I will go off camera and finish doing that, and then we can come back and it'll be exactly the same process on this other edge as well. I don't think I'll need to kind of then stitch on the lower edge. I think it'll be held sort of, yeah, nicely enough as it is. And it's actually good if this edge has a bit of sort of like opening in it, because that way, well, not opening, but like looseness, because it'll be easier when I go to stitch the base on, if that makes sense. Looking on that side. Okay, so I am back and I have finished doing a running stitch over the fold that I created at the bottom and over the fold I created at the top. So for the bottom, I just did it without any line or anything and really just stitching from the front. So it's straight-ish on the front. As you can see, it's gone slightly wibbly wobbly at places along here. For the top section then, because that will be a tiny bit more visible when you're looking into the bowl, what I did was draw a line with my friction marker along where I wanted the stitches to be, and as I did each stitch I came through from the back making sure I stayed on the line, and then on the front I made sure I was kind of just staying where I wanted it to be, just a slight bit above yeah, where the fabric panel of bunnies are. So it's worked really well, and I've now worked out how I wanted to finish the raw edge at this end, which will then be joined together into the bowl. So I've done a fold over and a second fold, which I thought I would show you on this end. And I have also prepared my circle. I ended up finding I had a piece of blanket, beautiful blanket from Tasmania, plus a piece of Travis fur that I had already actually cut into, and so it was just a slight bit larger. So I cut it down to the size that I had, and then I've just gone round and done a whip stitch, so the same stitch that we used around our bunnies, to just put stitches all the way around. So that will be on the bottom, the nice soft blanket, and then inside it will have the matching fabric. So we will attach that in a moment, but first of all I will show you how I do this. So I've just got a regular sewing cotton, a vintage sewing cotton, don't even know what brand it is, but this is one of my favourite. It's a really lovely green actually, and it goes really well with this piece. I've got a nice sharp needle, because we're just going to be putting some nice little fine stitches in to hold it in place. So this one's not so much a visible stitch. Obviously you could do it visible if you wanted to. So I'm just going to get it into position. So basically just folding it back so then it comes up to where the edge of the little fabric panel is, or the little bunny panel. So I'll just kind of use my little clippy clips to help me along in getting it into a good position. Just wanting to get those, yeah, those raw ends underneath. So just helping myself to fold it where it needs to be. And I'll probably just adjust this end because it's just a tiny bit fatter up that end. Not that it probably really matters. Again, don't have to aim for perfection. And so then I'll just secrete my end piece in here, which just has a knot on the end. Just push that down so that then sort of sits into here, and then I'll just do some little stitches across the top to kind of seal that off. Now you don't have to do this step, but yeah, it's just going to give a nice sort of nice finished finish if someone is using this as a sort of a fabric bowl for something like decorative eggs, or even just having it out. It will be nice to just not have a raw edge on the inside to catch on anything. But again, you do you. It's not compulsory to do it this way. Just sharing ideas as I create. As I say, this isn't a passion or anything. It's just something that's evolving as we stitch. And even when we come to stitch on the bottom, we might find we just need to kind of, gather it a tiny bit if they're not an exact match of size. But it usually works out pretty well if you measure it that sort of way. And so then I'm just going to be capturing just this fabric here, not going right through all the layers of fabric. It's kind of good that it's thick because it makes it easier to do these sorts of stitches. It's now evening. We've had our rain shower. I think they said it had cooled down to 27 around dinner time. So I haven't actually been outside. Alex has just taken Travis for a walk. Travis is very much enjoying my nice clean craft room. Although it was funny before when the heavy rains were coming and when I had to turn off briefly, poor little Travis, I think, got a bit of a fright from the thunder or something and let a little woofy chuff go that fragranced my craft room for a bit after. He's a funny boy. Definitely makes us laugh. He's got character, that's for sure. So yeah, end of the long weekend. Felt like it went by, I think because we had visitors yesterday afternoon that went right into evening. It felt like in some ways it went fast. I guess you've always got more, well, for all of us that create, I think we've always got more creative plans than what we have time for, but that's okay. I'm happy to have got this one. This one will be done. I'll get the video uploaded and share it because I know quite a few folks who were watching the original bunting video. They said they were very keen to see how the following sort of piece was created into a vessel. But this is just one version. You can definitely probably adapt it to whatever you have. Don't feel you have to rush out and get supplies. Just have a think how you can use what you have available to you. You could definitely mount your entire bunny piece onto a piece of felt would work well as well. And then you wouldn't have to worry about the raw edges. That's the great thing with felt. It doesn't really do fraying or anything, so that might be an easy way too. If it was a really thin sort of soft floppy felt, you might want 2 layers of felt, so like bend it over at the top and that would give you a nice, and you could just do a row of stitches over that, decorative ones. So sometimes I use the surface to kind of push my needle. So good here to just, if you want the stitches to be more sort of blending in, just to use a colour that blends in. But again, you might want that sort of, that scrappy look to continue even on these pieces. So absolutely, you could keep using the crochet cotton too. So then I'm just going to secrete my end into the fabric if I can get the needle to go through. It's quite thick there, isn't it? Just pull it a tiny bit tighter and the end will just spring back into the fabric. Take the thread out so it doesn't pull out in the... So I think the next step will be to put our 2 pieces together, which as you can see will go together really, really nicely like that. So in fact I'll need some more of the green thread. I think we'll just use that to sew that together. I think we'll do that first and then sew it onto the base so we can just see how it's actually looking. I might need to edit out depending how I'm going for time in this, but I'll get it started and then we can always cut it out for a bit. So I'll probably just come through and put the end in there. So I'll just pop the needle out through there, oops, the end didn't want to stay in. I won't give it such a tug. Just get the end in. Oh, maybe I haven't actually, did I not even put a knot on it properly? Maybe I didn't do that. Okay, let's try again. Right. So we'll want to put a decent number of stitches sort of going down here just to give it enough sort of hold and strength. You could use a ladder stitch if you wanted it to be sort of total more invisible, but I'm happy just to do a whip stitch, I think. And I could use like a neutral coloured thread over the neutral bits of the fabric, but I don't think a bit of green will be a problem. Because some of my neutrals also have a bit of green in them, so, and also my bunnies have a bit of green too, don't they? Just wanting to make sure I'm catching enough. See, I don't think I caught enough of that side there, so I'll just go back through. And I could turn it inside out and do this actually on the inside, but I actually don't mind the look of that. So I wonder though, yeah, no, I might come back and actually do an extra row up the inside as well, just for extra strength. That might be a good idea. Get down here, and then we can always turn it inside out before we put the bottom on. Just becomes another little feature stitch, I think, when you're doing this. And obviously attaching it onto the base will, yeah, just help to hold it sort of shape too. But the furnishing fabric's doing a pretty good job of being a nice weight of sort of hold. Don't think I heard of any, I don't know if I watched the entire news, but I don't think I heard of any bushfires, so I hope that's the case. And I know some other parts of Australia, I know my friend Christy in WA, they've got some hot weather coming up as well. So I'll think all the good thoughts for all folks in all parts, not just Australia, overseas as well. So I'm just going to turn it inside out, and then we can just go and put an extra few stitches just to give it a nice sort of one strength and two, just so then we kind of cover over that little whitey area. Again, I'm just picking up little bits of the fabric. Here I'll just pick up bits of the green fabric so it kind of, yeah, seals together. Might want to wear a thimble here. Don't want to put holes in your fingers. I just tend not to be a thimble wearer. Trying to build up nice strong fingers, or I just use the table if I ever need a bit of help. Just like this, just push it through like that from with the table. That's why I have a quilt on my table. It's my old dining table from a smaller one. We have a very big one here, so it's actually the table I got when I moved out of home and bought a house and moved in. So got the most affordable furniture, got one of those like furniture packages. So, but it did me well. Good sturdy table. Giving it a nice tight pull, and then I'll do a few more stitches down here. It's harder through these multi-layers. Can also use your pliers if you're needing help pulling a needle through. But yeah, this double-sided stitching should give us a nice robust join, I think. Okay, there we go. Let's just come down here, and then we'll maybe put it over that way. Sometimes it's those last few stitches that are hardest, aren't they? Okay, then we'll tie it off. Great, and I should just secrete it back again into the fabric. And then remember to turn it back in the correct way. So there. That's looking very cute, I think. And then we need to sew the bottom on. I'll probably just use that same thread and just do a whip stitch all the way around there. So I might, I can start that off with you, and then I might turn the camera off because that will get a bit monotonous. And then we can come back and have a look at the finished piece. I haven't decided yet whether I will put a handle on it or leave it just as a bowl, but I'll probably clip that extra bunny on so that it is the full, my full brother and sister-in-law's family each have a bunny. And then I thought that might just be a nice little gift to send back, and I'll probably fill it up with some Easter eggs to send back to all the family when Bailey goes home after Easter. Start around here. So I'll sort of secrete my end just in there, take the extra bit off, and then we'll just start with the stitching it on. And so I'm just going to pick up a bit of the blanket piece and a bit of the green fabric at the side, and I'll go all the way around, and when we're getting to the other side we can have a look how we're going, and if we need to sort of start to, sometimes you, as I say, you just need to adjust it a little bit as you go, because you might find your circles just slightly different circumference, but or slightly different, yeah, sort of size, but I think it is going to work pretty well. So I'll go off and do that, and then I'll just come back to finish that with you and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I have stitched all around the outside, and we've just got a little area to stitch here, so I thought we could do that together, and then we can have a look at our container. I say our because you've been hanging with me, so it's our container. And I do look forward to seeing if other folks, yeah, try this out. I'll include a link to our little Facebook slow stitching friends if you want to post any pictures in there. In fact, of any of your stitching work, very happy that you share in there. Because I know on YouTube you can't kind of share photos, which is sometimes frustrating, because I would love to see everything that you're talking about in the comments that you're working on. I'll just put another stitch. So yeah, it has fitted pretty well. Usually it will sort of like bobble up a little bit in the middle, but once you kind of then get some things in the container, the bottom usually sits pretty well. But I'll just tie it off well here. And so yeah, that was all just done with the whip stitch, and then I'll just sort of secrete my end inside the sort of the blanket, I think. Cut it off. Put that over with my oars. And then that is how it looks inside, which I think's, yeah, pretty good. And then that would be lovely filled with some Easter eggs. And then let's go all the way around. Little blue bunny, pink bunny. I love these little tufty bits and textured woolen bits. I think they really add to it. Then our yellow and blue and green bunny. And I think that's the Tilda fabric scrap. Love that. And I love how it's got the greens, so it's kind of goes with the, yeah, the background, and that's a very springy colour. We'll send it over to them after Easter, and I'll get a lot of lovely Easter eggs into there for them. So thanks so much for watching, and yeah, have fun stitching, and take care, be gentle with yourselves and be kind to others, as I know you are, and I will speak to you soon. Bye everyone.